this episode of Pushing Buttons is dedicated to the life and memory of Peter Mayhew. He was one of the most iconic, or played one of the most iconic characters in the Star Wars franchise, and he will be missed. Rest in peace. Hey, welcome back to Pushing Buttons.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Bi-weekly podcast where we talk about video games and whatnot. My name's Kevin.
My name's Robert.
And I'm Kyle.
And I've been looking forward to this episode for a year, since it was about a week before we recorded.
Since we announced it a year ago.
Yeah, it was about a week before we recorded the very first episode. I was like, hey, our 1 year anniversary, which isn't this week, is going to be about the same time as Star Wars Day. And we're actually recording this on May the 4th.
Yes, May the 4th be with you.
He did the live long and prosper thing again.
Well, I thought that was the joke.
I guess it is now.
Okay.
It'll be a recurring joke. How about that? Star Wars games have gone through some ups and some downs, and
Yeah.
we
boy.
went through, and I've actually printed off lists of stuff from
He's prepared.
Wikipedia. StarWars.fandom.com. You can get the whole list there that we're using today. And we're going to break it up by decade. And it's very telling of the trajectory that Star Wars games have gone through the past few decades. Because when I went through my list, and I've definitely played more Star Wars games than these guys have.
By far.
Yeah. The 80s, I didn't play any of them. The 90s, I think I played 9. The 2000s, I'll get to that in a second. From 2010 through current day, I think I've played like 5 of them. And then the 2000 through 2009, 28 games.
Yikes.
In that time frame. Most of them from 2003 through 2006, I think.
I think that was the golden age.
Really was.
Yeah, LucasArts was on their A game.
It's because they weren't
that
developing
span.
all of them by themselves. They had a lot of other outside developers, and they were just publishing them. LucasArts was fantastic for that. And EA is the devil as far as video game publishing goes. But yeah, let's just jump right into this.
Let's go.
From the 80s, it was mostly just...
Jump the light speed.
It was most... That's one of the games I played.
Oh.
Not from the 80s, though. From the 80s, they were mostly movie tie-ins, because that was before video games were a big thing. They were just a kind of a nerd thing or an arcade thing to do. It was, movie tie-ins. The only one of note here was the original arcade game, which I thought that I had played, but then I realized that there was a different arcade game. So I had not played this one from the 1980s.
I wasn't even alive in the 80s, so
I was only
too.
alive.
play 'em.
I was like 2 years old.
Yeah, I was born at the tail end of the 80s, so
Or 3. No, 2. 2. Because 1989, I was 2.
there you go. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Checks out.
I was born at the very beginning of 88, so starting with the 90s, we had more I'm just going to bring this a little closer to me.
Oh, okay.
There were some more movie tie-ins and stuff, but the first one that I think most people have any memory of is Super Star Wars for the Super NES.
Yeah, from our generation. Yeah.
And I didn't have a Super NES, so I didn't play it until later, when I totally legally on an emulator played it on my original Xbox console. It was great. I modded my original Xbox with one of our buddies. Helps.
Hacker Man.
Yeah. Sure. And I downloaded the entire library of Super NES games, and the first one I tried playing was Super Star Wars, and man, that game sucks. It's just a 2D game where
I mean, they were good and bad.
I think with the amount of games on the Super NES, and they could have gone really original with it, but it was just a movie tie-in game.
Basically, yeah.
It was
Just took the plot points from the movie and made it into levels. And
I did want to note Star Wars TIE Fighter came out in 94. That was the PC.
Yeah.
Most people played it with the joystick. It led to other games that we're going to be talking about. TIE Fighter being one of the original flight simulators, specifically the original Star Wars flight simulator.
I was going to say,
believe.
those were popular in the early 90s.
They were popular until they stopped making them, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, in fact, I think even to this day, a lot of people still play them from time to time. And those are all available on good old games. So if you go to GOG.com, GOG.com, you can buy them there.
A lot of my early Star Wars memories with gaming was at the time my older brother's computer, and he had games like this. And later on, we'll talk about more of those Star Wars games.
Yeah,
but it was really cool at the time.
Star Wars
to fly a TIE fighter.
Yeah, exactly. Star Wars has been one of my favorite sci-fi franchises, one of my favorite franchises ever. And the feeling that you get when you actually feel like you're in the cockpit of a TIE fighter was incredible. It was a great feeling. It was as it was as atmospheric though as a game could get at that point when computers were not what they are today. Yeah, fun game. You can still go back and play that now. In 95,
and I think at that point I was like 5 or 6, just to keep track. You know?
just in case you didn't add up the numbers there.
Be careful.
Star Wars Dark Forces. This is where it begins. It took a turn. This is where Star Wars games became what they are. Yeah. The Dark Forces series led to the Jedi Knight series. You play as Kyle Katarn.
Same name as me.
His name is Kyle Katarn.
And at this point, I was like 7, 8 years old.
That doesn't matter so much.
No.
I've gone back and played this after playing Jedi Outcast. I know you didn't have much.
Dark Forces was cool, man.
Don't probably know much about this, Robert.
Nope.
It's the story of Kyle Katarn. He was. It's all been retconned, obviously now, but he was an Imperial. I think he was a stormtrooper.
Yes. Yeah.
And he
ended
up
the title Dark Forces.
He ended up rebelling, and he stole the Death Star plans. He was the one that stole the Death Star plans and brought them to Mon Mothma.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it turns out that he is also Force sensitive and becomes a Jedi. And I'm not sure exactly which game this happens, if it's in the first one or if it's not until Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, which was the next one that came out. It was in 97. Continuing his story, that I don't know if I played that one actually.
Well, what I remember most about it is the gameplay. This was the first Star Wars first-person shooter.
Yeah, not just that, but
that was incredible.
Third person with a lightsaber.
That too.
Yeah, that actually felt good.
Yes, it was kind of floaty. It felt like, but it felt good.
They had some kinks to work out that they did in later games, but the story of Kyle Katarn is one that I wish they would have made into movies. Honestly.
I know, man. That would have been a great trilogy.
Yeah.
Rather than the dog shit we're getting now.
By the end, I think it's by the end of Dark Forces 2 or maybe its expansion that he renounced the Force and pretty much just becomes a mercenary with his pilot friend Jan Ors, which is who I think Jyn Erso. I think her character might have been slightly based on Jan Ors. I think maybe a mix of Kyle Katarn and Jan Ors.
That would explain why I liked Rogue One so much.
Rogue One was just a fantastic movie.
That's the best Star Wars movie.
You guys want to do an episode on Star Wars movies at some point?
I think so.
I think we should do that.
Be contentious.
Yeah. I did skip over one of the better Star Wars games, because there were a lot of really good ones in the 90s.
A lot.
The N64 had Shadows of the Empire. That was one of the first Star Wars games that I think it was the first one I ever played. Not the earliest made one I ever played, but the first one I ever played.
Yes.
Playing as Dash Rendar. I think he's a smuggler. He's a Han Solo-esque character who starts off, when you start off in that game, you're in the Battle of Hoth. What a fantastic way to start a game.
And 90% of all kids back then only played that level.
That sounds accurate. I didn't play it.
Which was me. I never played it past that. Because it was too fun.
That makes so much sense.
So you didn't play the rest of the game because the beginning was too fun?
Yes.
It honestly, because
it was such a great set piece to introduce the N64.
I'm confused.
Let me put this into perspective for you. So the first level is the Battle of Hoth, and you're flying around in a snowspeeder, and you've got to use your harpoon and tow cables to bring down the ATs and shoot down the ATSTs and probe droids.
Also remember that this was like the first of its kind of game where you controlled a 3D space
on a console.
Yeah, on a console. Yeah, this was huge back then.
It was like Star Fox 64. But in
that's
Star
a good
Wars, in the Star Wars world. But after that, you're playing as Dash Rendar in first person as a first person shooter.
Yeah, it didn't
for
work
the majority of the game. There was a lot of platforming levels. One level, the third level, I think, because the second level after the Battle of Hoth is inside Echo Base. and you're trying to defend it from stormtroopers and trying to make sure that Leia and Han and Chewie can fly away before Vader gets them. The level after that, I think, is on Ord Mantell, if I'm remembering correctly, and there's a lot of platforming from like train to train. I think you're being chased by Boba Fett, I think is how that goes. Okay. I could be wrong. It's been
a long
decades
time
since I played that.
Yeah.
That is also available on GOG for PC right now. A fantastic game. It doesn't really play so well trying to translate N64 controls to a current 2-stick
I doubt that,
controller. Yeah. I know I'm talking a lot, but this is where I had a lot of my early experience in video gaming.
Well, yeah, our 9 to 10-year-old selves, if you're keeping track of that, we were like mesmerized because this was before Episode 1 came out.
This was, at this point we had
nothing
Star Wars,
yeah,
A New Hope. We had Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
That's all we had.
That was it.
Reference.
And books and comics, I guess.
And seeing the Battle Hoth like on a console game, you were just like, "Oh my fucking god!"
I felt like I was actually part of the Rebel Alliance in that game. When you're a kid, and this I think was even maybe before I saw the Star Wars movies, because I didn't see them until I was 8. So it was about the time that this came out. Actually,
see, told you it's important to keep track of your age.
I suppose it is.
This is like big stuff right here.
I accidentally highlighted this one. I'd want to talk about Masters of the Terrascasi.
Oh, is that shitty PlayStation fighting game?
Yes, I didn't play it.
I didn't play it, but I know about it.
I wanted to talk about it because it was like Mortal Kombat was huge back then. Street Fighter was huge back then.
Yes.
I guess they both kind of still are, but it was not a good game. Not
by any means.
I like the Terrascasi name because that comes up later in Star Wars Galaxies, one of my favorite games of all time. But yeah, that was a cheap game.
And I think if I remember right, what's her name in the Solo movie?
Yeah,
she uses that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that was a nice little callback.
Yeah. X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. I actually did play this one.
Another flight simulator, right?
Yeah, this one was maybe the first one was X-Wing, and then they had TIE Fighter, and then X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, we got the list right.
Yeah, I don't want to go. Oh, I guess 93 was when X-Wing came out.
Yes.
So.
And then the expansions, apparently.
Yeah, whatever. X-Wing versus TIE Fighter was the first one that I played back on the PC in my early gaming days. This is where I got that feeling like I'm part of the Star Wars universe, where it just sucks you in. It's first person. It's in the cockpit of an X-Wing or a TIE Fighter, depending on where you're at in the story. It was, for me, it was endlessly replayable because it's kind of like those arcade games where you can play it differently. And the best comparison I guess I could make for that was like Star Fox, where it had different endings. It wasn't quite to that extent, but it was very open and free roaming as far as the 3D environment goes.
Okay.
I don't think it was so on rails as the Star Wars games, the space-based ones are now, like the space combat in Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO. That one's on rails. This was more open, and it felt like you were in that cockpit, in that moment, and you were fighting for either the Rebellion or the Empire. And it was fantastic, and I loved it.
Nice.
I used the joystick, and I think my dad he loved that game, and he got to the point where he bought a joystick and one of those throttle things, and there's like 70 buttons on it, and it's like overwhelming to my kid brain, but to the point where I fucking loved it. It was fantastic. Almost takes us out of the 90s, I think. Oh, Mysteries of the Sith was the expansion to that.
Oh, okay.
The arcade one that I did play, and we can still play this in local arcades around here, the Star Wars Trilogy arcade. I don't know if you've played that, the nickel arcade down. It's really good. I've mostly played the first level of the first one because you got to pay money to keep playing it. But it's the Death Star, the Battle of not Endor, Yavin. The Battle of Yavin, I think, is the first level. It kind of brought me back because I didn't play this until I was a little older and started going to arcades on my own without my parents. It kind of brought me back to when I was a kid playing that X-Wing versus TIE Fighter game. Nice. And later they have levels where the joystick actually controls a lightsaber and you're moving and you're fighting Darth Vader as Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
That
okay.
sounds cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
trying to like dodge his lightsaber or block his lightsaber attacks and then swinging it forward. It felt like what VR could be in the future or in the present, I guess, if they make a good VR game. I guess Beat Saber. I want to play Beat Saber, damn it. I need
Is that
VR for
PlayStation VR?
I think it's. I know it's on PC. It could be on PlayStation. I don't know. My problem with VR, just to go off on a little tangent here, is that there's so many exclusives based on what headset you buy.
It seems like that, yeah.
So you could buy like
Seems that way.
the HTC Vive, and there are specific games that'll only work on that, and then there were games that would only work on the Oculus Rift, and I never knew which one to get. And
There's
they were both
too many
too
options.
expensive anyway.
Yeah, too many options, too many different prices.
It's like if you're already going
It's
to be
confusing.
buying a gaming PC, it's like, okay, I don't want to deal with exclusivity for console games, so I'm going to buy a PC. And then you have to deal with VR exclusives. Yeah. So if you don't own them both, you can't play all the games. What the fuck?
So I'm just waiting until it becomes widely available to have like the things where you actually strap in and you're like walking on the treadmill. That's the VR I want to play. I don't want to just stand there and go like this.
Man.
I want to feel like I'm.
I want the holodeck.
You know, here's a
I want the holodeck.
offbeat thing. Has Star Wars ever shown off like hologram VR stuff? Whatever.
There was a VR game that came out when VR first started coming to the mainstream.
Well, I'm wondering if are you meaning like in the movies?
Yes.
Like something comparable to the holodeck?
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
I don't believe
Yeah,
so.
I don't think they have, huh?
No. They
I
have
mean, the
like,
most
their
we got-
holograms, like when they're talking.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
communication tools. Yeah.
Nothing as far as,
I was gonna say they try to keep it a little more realistic, but then I think of lightsabers and sound in space, and then realism's moving things with your mind, choking people. Never mind about realism.
So before we get to
That point, that was good.
Thank you.
Episode 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, the
So-
asteroid field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to mention Star Wars Rogue Squadron for the N64.
Cool.
That was a huge release for the time because it came with the expansion pack, which was a little thing you would insert into the N64 to give it a graphics boost.
But I had to get one of those for Majora's Mask.
I remember the
Majora's
Rebel
Mask?
packs.
Yeah, Majora's Mask required the memory expansion.
Oh,
pack.
maybe it did. I was thinking of Perfect Dark and Donkey Kong 64.
I never played Donkey Kong.
Yeah, those
64.
both came with it, I think. And I think Star Wars Rogue Squadron was the other game.
Nice.
And that was a great. I don't know what the genre's called really, like vehicular combat,
That works. Yeah.
like because you control the ship in linear levels.
Yeah.
and
Kind of like
missions.
a game later on from 2002.
Yes, which was the successor
Okay.
to this installment. Sorry, I'm having
This rendition.
trouble with words.
Rogue
today.
Squadron is also, I believe, available on Good Old Games.
Yes, but great game,
Everything's available on
fantastic.
PC. I need to get one.
You really do.
And
I
then there's also the hype leading up to episode 1 at this time. Like for my 10, 11-year-old self, like I was like ripping and raring to go to see
Ripping and raring.
Darth Maul kick
The
ass.
ripping and the raring.
Like you guys, don't you remember those trailers back then? Like how hyped it was?
I
Back then?
do remember it being like the biggest
My
thing in the
parents were
absolute-
like
in the
freaking out
world.
about the movie.
I gotta say, I don't remember the trailers at all,
I don't either.
but I remember
the hype.
seeing the movie and being like so in love
Like
with
were
it
your
when I was a
parents
kid.
like excited about it? Like they didn't. Oh, okay. My parents were like really excited to see about. We saw
Sounds like you have
opening
cool
weekend.
parents.
Yeah, my mom fell asleep. I distinctly remember her falling asleep in the theater and me being upset. And so I was
funny.
8 years old and I was upset because she fell asleep. during
That's
Star
Damn.
Wars.
Yikes.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is like the first trilogy we saw for ourselves without,
Right.
prior experiences influencing our impressions. Yeah.
Where are you going from that?
Good old days.
Episode 1 Racer.
Okay.
That game was freaking awesome.
It was. It's one of, to this day, one of my favorite arcade games.
That is my first memory of a Star Wars game, is having that on N64.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think it probably jump-started my love of like racing games after that, but none of them have ever compared to the feeling of like going 800 miles an hour.
God, how
on
has
a
it
pod
not
racer
gotten a
through-
sequel?
Well, it did get a sequel,
Did it?
but yeah, there was a second one. I
Really?
think 2 years later.
2 years later.
Bombad
Something like that.
Racing. Super Bombad Racing?
That's
It
different.
was Racer's Revenge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Racer's Revenge.
Oh,
There it is.
Yeah, it's in 2002.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never knew that was a thing.
I played that one as well, but yeah,
Wow.
Episode 1 Racer is actually probably one of the biggest driving forces for me wanting to get a PC because I know they have that on one of those sites.
It's on GOG, and I think it's on Steam.
I want to play it so bad. Like, I haven't played it since I was a kid, and I have such fond memories of it.
That's also in a lot of the arcades in this area.
Really?
And it's so much better to play it in the arcade because I played it on 64 as well.
I
the arcade,
I need
you've
to go
got
to
the,
arcades, I
You've
guess.
got the levers, and you like
I
bring them
remember
both
that.
forward to go forward.
Yeah, I
or
remember
to turn right, you bring the right one back and do the left one, so it's like you're leaning.
Yeah.
Well, which arcades? Because I've never seen it at like the one we went to.
I think it was there a long. Oh no, not that one. The Nickel Arcade.
I haven't seen it there either.
It was there when I was littler. I don't know if it's still
Okay,
there.
then no.
Okay. Yeah, you weren't living here at that time.
I mean, Episode 1 Racer, that was like the best part of the Episode 1 for me, was the pod racing segment.
We all
That
know
was
how
amazing.
Kevin feels about it. We don't need to reiterate.
Kevin hates it.
I don't
Moving
hate
on.
it. It's just I don't hate it at all. It was just the movie sucked and it didn't do anything to bring the movie up for me.
Well, I enjoyed the movie thoroughly.
I enjoyed the game, and to that extent, even with Episode 1, I played the Episode 1 tie-in game on the PC. I think it was also on the PlayStation.
I played it on the PlayStation. Yeah.
The Phantom Menace. Was that top-down game? I vividly remember the first level when you're playing as either Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon, but they're both there. And
going through the droid ship.
Yeah, going through the droid ship.
I think you're
and
Obi-Wan.
deflecting the laser. The lasers from the guns, and it was a fun game because it was not open. It was kind of an action adventure game. Very linear levels, but it had side paths to go through, and it wasn't. I was a kid at the time, so it wasn't the easiest game to figure out, but it was a really fun game for a licensed tie-in, like movie tie-in.
Yeah, I never beat it. I think I only played that first, like Obi-Wan level.
Yeah,
or maybe the one
that
after
one a lot.
Yeah, back then it wasn't so much of a hardcore gamer like trying to beat games and stuff. It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna play this for a little bit.
Right.
It was around that time too that another sequel to Rogue Squadron came out for N64.
Battle for Naboo.
Yeah. Which also required the expansion pack.
I think that one's also, I could be wrong. I think it's also still available on PC on GOG.
Yeah, it was a fun one too. It was kind of weird controlling the Naboo starfighter because that vehicle is not fun to pilot.
It looks weird too.
Yeah, I don't like the design
personally.
I don't
like the they call it Nubian in the movie, but in Star Wars Galaxies they said Nabooian. I don't like the Nubian design, like how it's supposed to look all sleek. Yeah, exactly. Very rounded and everything is just really didn't do anything for me. But it was 99, so that was the future.
Chrome was the future,
which it was the past in Star Wars terms. But
this is a long time ago.
Yeah. No, I mean it was a prequel movie as well.
That too.
I didn't play any of the games. Damn it. I didn't play any of the movies. I
haven't either.
I didn't play any of the games from 2000 because they were all Episode 1 tie-ins. They were practically all Episode 1 tie-ins.
So, like, when you saw the movie, did you just walk out and think, man, that sucked?
I didn't see the movie until it came out on video.
Oh.
I didn't see it in theaters. If I did,
that
I would have
makes a
hated
big
it
difference.
even more.
Yeah.
I would have.
So at that age, you didn't like it?
I didn't like it then. No, it was. I didn't dislike it as much as I do now, but it was still boring to me as a kid. Because as a kid, it's all senators, it's all politics.
It's a lot of politics. Yeah.
Watching it.
That's what I enjoy about the Star Wars movies.
That's why the pod racing is a saving grace. When my 8-year-old self loved Jar Jar Binks, I wanted to get everything Jar Jar.
What's wrong with you?
Like all this. I was 8 years old, man.
What, did you just walk around going, Misa Jar Jar Binks? Did you do that all day?
Why would I do that?
Why would I do it all day?
I like Captain America. I don't go around saying, I'm
Captain America! Wait, that's not what he...
No, like my 8-year-old self thought he was like so cool looking and stuff, and like a frog and stuff. So he is a character for kids. I don't feel the same way about him now, Kyle.
I love that I'm not the one yelling at Kyle right now.
Well,
that's past Robert's problem.
Okay.
As a kid, I didn't even like cartoons for the most part. So I thought he was too...
what is wrong with you, Kevin?
I liked Doug.
Doug's
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Spider-Man, and X-Men.
Those are cartoons.
I'm listing cartoons that I liked.
You said you didn't like cartoons.
I didn't like...
He's listing the very few that were exceptions.
Okay.
I didn't like pretty much anything else.
Read between the lines, Kyle. Read the room.
Hey, I need things explained to me front and center, okay?
Front and back.
So you probably didn't play Galactic Battlegrounds with
No.
it being an RTS. If
No.
You need everything like explained.
I was
to
too busy playing Command and Conquer at that time.
Command and Conquer was a superior game, but it
Yes.
wasn't a Star Wars game.
No.
So I didn't like it.
Okay. Glad we got that out of the way.
There are games that I don't like the genre that they're in, but because they're Star Wars games, for some reason I like them. And Episode 1 Racer was one of those. Galactic Battlegrounds was the only RTS, the first RTS of three that I ever really liked. 2 of the 3 are Star Wars games. The other one's Lord of the Rings game. So I'm not a big RTS guy. Never liked StarCraft, never liked Warcraft, never liked Command & Conquer. Never mind, I did play and really enjoyed Rise of Nations. That's neither here nor there. It was about the same time as I played Galactic Battlegrounds, though. My stepbrother and I at the time, though, I say at the time because he's not my stepbrother anymore, but we would play together. And, oh, man, we would stay up pretty freaking late playing co-op on that game. I never liked competitive games, and so I never liked to play against him because if he was younger than me, if he kicked my ass, I'd feel horrible. And if I kicked his ass, it was like, oh, whatever. He's smaller than me, whatever. It was my teenage brain at the time. Yeah, he would make all the ground troops. He would focus solely on that, and I'd make all the ships, like the bombers and the fighters and stuff, and we would just demolish everything every time. It was a lot of fun. It's before I actually craved any kind of challenge in a game. It was when I just played a game to kill everything and have fun with it. Very, very lackluster RTS, but a very fun Star Wars game nonetheless. Because it even had a campaign that tied in with the movies, but wasn't directly the movies. Like they had the Battle of Geonosis, and that was in the Clone or the Clone Wars.
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones.
Yes.
Well, no, I'm talking about the game. The title of the expansion. I think it was the Clone Wars expansion. I could be wrong. The Clone Campaigns. Galactic Battlegrounds Clone Campaigns came out the next year. Yeah, that was the first of 2 RTSs that I played. I'll talk about the other one just right now. Empire at War. That game was... Did you guys ever play Empire at War?
Nope.
Had super souped up graphics compared to Galactic Battlegrounds, and it didn't come out much later. It was within, I think, 5 years. But graphics technology improved a whole lot, and it was mostly based on space combat and taking over the galactic map as either the Rebellion or the Empire. That one was more story focused and less on gameplay, and it was fun because you could work up to the point where, as if you were playing if you're playing as the Empire, you could work up to getting the Death Star and blow up a planet that was controlled by the Rebellion, which always felt great. Like, oh, you have this super strategically important planet? No one does now. No one can have it. It's gone. Bye-bye. It was a fun game.
I mean, it was around this time that I was really playing a lot of StarCraft.
Okay. You were heavily into StarCraft.
Yes,
yeah.
That was a huge game back then. Along with this next one, Rogue Squadron 2, which was a GameCube launch title.
Oh, yeah. We're almost talking about high school. We're like,
yeah, for me, this was
grade.
a big moment because, everybody was wanting to play Smash Brothers Melee.
Yeah.
And they bought a GameCube specifically for Smash Brothers Melee.
Right.
But it came out a month later. To tide us over until then, we had either Luigi's Mansion or Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2. And I picked Rogue Squadron 2.
Naturally, because of how much you like
and
Rogue Squadron.
This was such an amazing game. Like the sound design, everything sounds like it should. Like the actual mission structure and all the variety of vehicles you could pilot, it was just mind-blowing at the time. You could get the Y-Wing, the A-Wing, a TIE Fighter, an X-Wing, all that shit. And I gold medaled everything in that game.
Nice.
Because I was waiting for Smash Brothers to come out.
If this game is
Freaking
available,
awesome game.
If this game's available on Good Old Games, would you stream it?
Maybe.
Would you watch it?
I'd watch it.
I think we should try that sometime.
That'd be fun.
I'd love to watch.
I'd like to revisit.
I don't know if I'd go back now and play that game, but I'd love to watch you play it.
It was a really good game for its time. Because GameCube back then was like cutting edge, like over PS2.
I never played GameCube.
And it was a pretty powerful system.
I wish the
it was
controller
like
wasn't so stupid.
It was like on the same level as Xbox.
Stupid controller.
Yeah.
A really dumb controller. Nintendo's had some really
GameCube controller is
fucking
great for
stupid-
Smash Brothers, but shit for everything else.
They had some really fucking stupid
Yeah,
layouts. The N64 with the 3-pronged.
yeah, that was a bad controller.
And
Shout out to Geek Freaks, though. I know we're
Oh.
doing that late, but I did watch their top 5 episode of. They counted down their top 5 game controllers,
Oh, cool.
and they talked extensively about the N64 one, and it kind of brought me around to like, I think a few of them had it in their top 5, and I was like, yeah, it did make sense. It was kind of cool because you could use this configuration or this configuration, and it gave you options.
There were N64 games that I remember playing where you have your hands on the very ends on the D-pad and on the buttons, and you'd still have to hit the Z button, so you'd have to reach your finger around to hit the Z button.
Like, going around back door.
Yeah, exactly. I have to give it the backdoor tingle.
I can't remember if the GameCube controller was on any of their lists, though.
I will say, playing a lot of N64 games, like, I couldn't imagine playing Zelda any other way.
Well,
because I played it on the 3DS, the remake, and it just felt weird without the N64 controller.
Yeah,
it's muscle memory.
I think a lot of it
so,
is
yeah.
before the dual controllers, before the dual thumbstick thing became reality. They were trying to figure out a way to do that. Like Mario 64, you press the C buttons. Having 4 C buttons is fucking stupid, but you press the C buttons.
Well, it made sense at
to
the
adjust
time.
the camera.
Camera, yeah.
Why call them all C? C up, C down, C left, C
camera
right.
Camera up, camera left, camera right, camera down.
In some games, C was for camera, but on the controller, the C was just because it was where the C button would be. But they made 4 buttons out.
When they first made Super Mario, that's what it was for, and that was like their prototype.
It wasn't the first game to come out, though.
It was a launch title.
Cruis'n USA came out before Super Mario 64.
I thought they were all launch titles.
I remember waiting for Super Mario 64.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty positive.
Fact check us.
Because I thought the 64 came out in 95 and Mario 64 came out in 96.
No, the N64 didn't launch until 96.
I could have swore it was 95.
No.
Fact check us.
Please.
Yeah. Anyway, the next game that came out after Rogue Squadron 2 was Obi-Wan. And I did play that game a little bit. That was the Xbox, I believe, the original Xbox.
I can remember the cover for it. It was like green tinge. It's got Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it was another third-person like action platformer. It was a bad game, but I played it a lot because I rented games a lot and I loved Star Wars at the time. That was when I was really, really getting into Star Wars.
Yes, I was going to say
8th and
as
9th
well.
grade.
Like this was like the pivotal moment where I became like super into Star Wars.
The games.
Yes.
The games made you feel like you were a part.
Along with this new trilogy, the prequel trilogy, I was like really into it.
Yeah, EA has really shit the bed on games coming out along with
The new movie trilogy.
Yeah, they had Lego Star Wars and then Battlefront. Anyway, skip around. I do want to talk about Bounty Hunter, even though I didn't play it. I accidentally highlighted it.
Okay, well, I have a lot to say on it. If that's okay.
You can talk about it.
So this was like me.
I didn't have a GameCube, so I didn't play
Like
it.
14 years old for those keeping track still. I was super hyped for Attack of the Clones. Like I was like watching each trailer over and over. I couldn't wait to see Jango Fett. I was like, oh my god, it's Jango Fett. Like Boba Fett's dad. He's going to be badass. That wasn't the case.
No.
It was super disappointing. But I still wanted to play Bounty Hunter. Yeah. Bounty Hunter was an awesome game. It showed me how badass Jango Fett could be.
Yeah.
I loved all his like dodge jumping, like he'd go left and right and bounce, and then he could just
So I never
like constantly spamming the blasters.
I never played that game.
Jetpack.
I never did either.
But
Fun.
The level layout always confused me whenever I saw it. It looked like it was very convoluted. The layout of the levels.
It was.
The jetpack, and they try to put some verticality in there so that you could make use of the jetpack. I understand that. And the dual blasters were fucking cool.
I love how you had to spam the square button for the PlayStation version. Like that's like you had to constantly tap it. You couldn't hold it down.
Gotcha.
But that's what made it fun.
The level design,
tiring.
the level
It
design
is,
was
it was.
why I never ended up going back and playing it because it looked like it was just a confusing mess.
I mean,
from an outside perspective.
I mean, granted, it's been like what 18 years since it came out.
Just about, yeah.
So it's been a while since I played it.
Yeah.
I'm probably looking back on it more fondly than I actually think I would probably think of it now.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun at the time playing that as a kid.
I surprisingly had a lot of fun with the episode 2 tie-in, the Clone Wars, the one on the Xbox that was on on the same disc as Tetris, I think.
It was the very first game I ever played on my Xbox.
It was the one that came with my Xbox as well, which I bought that Xbox for another Star Wars game, but we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, I know we've all played this Clone Wars game. We've talked about it on this podcast.
Yes,
before.
we have.
It was a surprisingly good game.
The vehicle combat was fun as hell with all the cool vehicles. It was freaking awesome.
I never liked the droid army in the Clone Wars and Attack of the Clones storyline. Controlling their vehicles though, like the ST-8, the STAP, and their big tank and stuff, it felt really fun in those games.
What I really liked, and I've always been disappointed that it never showed up again. Like I don't even think in the Clone Wars animated series, but the droid that was like on the 2 big wheels. And it was basically just like a missile launcher on wheels.
Yes.
And that was fun to control in that game.
It was.
It was in Attack of the Clones, and I don't think it's ever shown up again in any other media.
No,
it was just in the Battle of Geonosis, right?
Yeah. And it's always kind of made me a little sad, but yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was like a huge plus of the Attack of the Clones, even though the movie was god awful. I love the designs of the vehicles and the clone troopers.
A lot of the Republic designs of didn't do anything for me for their vehicles and stuff. The Jedi Starfighter was kind of cool. How it had to go had to like dock into that ring,
the hyperspace
part
ring,
to go into hyperspace, and then it would just like get itself out to be able to fly around and shoot stuff. Set as attack position. Nice. I still like it.
I know.
I even like the taxis in the city. Like, the taxi chase.
In
the
Coruscant?
Yeah, that was great too. I love that.
What did I tell you about power converters? Had to find one I liked,
I do love that Zam Wessel chase though.
Yeah.
Well, on the movie podcast we'll talk more, but that's
yes, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good vehicle too.
I'm gonna have to rewatch those movies.
All of them, yeah.
Yeah.
The Force is with us today. Huh? Oh, yeah.
I'm going to talk for a little bit about Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast.
Oh, yeah, please take the floor.
On our YouTube channel, you can actually watch a little video of a lightsaber mod that I made for that game. I loved that game back then, and I played this all the way through about 2006. I kept going back to it, and it was to play user-created levels, which it was on the Quake 3 engine, so it was very easily moddable and expandable. There were a lot of different mods for it, and it made me really want a Force-based first-person shooter, on the Source engine is what I wanted, like Half-Life Force instead of Source. I wanted a Star Wars game on the Source engine, but this was as close as I got to it. Was on the Quake 3 engine, and man, this game was fucking.
It was incredible.
Good.
Yeah,
it was so good.
It was
even
freaking
online.
Awesome.
I played it online a lot.
I remember
too.
This is when Kevin and I first met around that time.
Yeah,
and we would hang out, and he would show me his mods and stuff.
Not so.
Well, somewhat. Yeah.
Let's keep that on the hush.
Oh, right, mods. Right. Yeah.
This game was fantastic. It was the continuation of Kyle Katarn's story, where he has to reclaim his Jedi abilities and go through the Jedi trials and become a Jedi again to stop Dasan and his Force-sensitive reborn army. It was fantastic. Dasan as a character was kind of weird. He looked like a human T-Rex combination.
Yeah.
He was like kind of a dinosaur, but a dinosaur head with a very big. I think they even called him Dinosaur Head in the game. Why am I getting?
I'm picturing
dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs from the actual TV show Dinosaurs.
Not mama. I watched that as a kid a lot.
Yeah, me too.
My grandma had the baby stuffed animal with the pull string.
Oh, that'd be creepy.
Oh, that's horrifying.
It was awful.
Yeah, I bet it was.
It was fantastic. Had all of its catchphrases.
Yeah.
Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast was like the pivotal Star Wars game for me. That was what turned me into someone who plays Star Wars games into someone who loves Star Wars games.
Yep.
And then after that, I don't know if you can see it on. You can't.
Probably not.
Most of this list is highlighted, and at the very top of that, the first one was Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, going from 2002 through 2006.
Rightfully so. Fantastic game.
It was the start of the age of the Star Wars game.
The age where LucasArts really
I
just
missed out
pumped
on
out
a lot
quality.
apparently.
Well, a lot of them were PC games. I mean, I guess
Yes.
this one was on the Xbox as well, but it didn't play as well on the Xbox.
It got ported to the Xbox.
Yeah, exactly. And it
Yeah.
wasn't as good on the Xbox. And this was done by Ravensoft. Are they even still around?
Probably not.
I don't know if Raven is
They were
still
part of
around
LucasArts, weren't they?
No, the game was published by LucasArts.
Oh, published. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, Ravensoft, I think, was its own independent
Oh, okay.
company. Because I think they did Soldier of Fortune.
hmm
The first 2 Soldier of Fortune games. I could be wrong. Fact check us. But yeah, 2003.
Here we go.
2003 was
Big
the year.
year for Star Wars.
That was the year. Let's talk about the lesser of the games here that had a Rogue Squadron 3, which if you want to talk about that, you can.
That was a disappointment. Rebel Strike sucked because it took the pilot out and put him on foot, on ground, and gave you missions, but it controlled so shittily, if that's a word. Shittily. But
I'll accept it.
I mean, the vehicle combat was still good, but it got broken up into these awkward transitions where you had to control the guy on foot with a rocket launcher of all things, and it was stupid.
So
It's not as good as Rogue Squadron 2. Yeah,
Stick with
basically. Yeah.
Jedi Knight 2, or sorry, the sequel to Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, which is just titled Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. Very weird that they went from Dark Forces to Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 to Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast to Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. Is a really weird naming.
Yeah, confusing.
But it was all the same storyline. But this is the first one that you don't play as Kyle Katarn. You play as a character that you make, and
I think his name was Jason Solo, wasn't it?
I don't think it was Solo.
Oh, really? I thought it was. I never really played that
You
one.
play as a male or a female, so it wasn't Jason either.
Oh wait, maybe that was the name of your friend, like your party member or whatever.
There was that guy.
Yeah. I don't remember it very well.
They made it a really stupid, like a unisex name, just in case you wanted to play as a male or
It sounds
a female.
like it was Jason,
Jason's not a female name at all.
like Jacen.
That is how it's spelled.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense.
And I think the last name was Solo, but I could
Because
be
there
wrong.
is a Jason Solo in
Yeah, but
the
this,
old Legends.
but I mean, Luke Skywalker's in this game, and he has no idea who you are.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, Jason Solo is a character in the books. God, I really want to know what this character. Anyway,
You tell you what, I will play it because it was one of Xbox's free games. I think last month or whatever. So I downloaded it, but I haven't played
Cool.
it. So
nice.
once I play it,
I won't give you too many spoilers then. But you start off as a Jedi apprentice, a Padawan, and you have to go through the Jedi trials, and from there it gets into the bigger story of the game, which is basically more of Jedi Knight 2, which I
It's a
liked
good thing.
Jedi Outcast a hell of a lot more. It was a much better game than Jedi Academy.
That game is just so groundbreaking with the way lightsaber fighting was controlled.
Jedi Knight 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jedi Outcast.
Yeah, Jedi Outcast, you had the fast, medium, or heavy attacks, and
You had the force powers too, which was sick.
you had combo attacks as
Yes.
well and there are different combos for fast, medium, and
Mhm.
heavy. But they took that a step further with Jedi Academy, giving you either 2 lightsabers or a double-bladed lightsaber,
Yep, I
or
remember
just a
that.
single saber. You could choose after you
So
go through the
cool.
trials and everything.
It's like a Star Wars fan's wet dream come true.
And in that game, you actually, without modding it or cheating, get to actually change your lightsaber color at will.
That too.
Yeah. And it still has the same light side, dark side balance that you have to find, which it's in those games, it's always better just to kind of have a mix, because it's nice to have heal from the light side, but also grip from the dark side, because you like to be able to choke shit. But yeah, play it. Let me know what you think. I'd
Yeah,
like
please
to see you
do.
stream it.
I don't know when, but
Fantastic games.
This is the one.
The big one.
This is the one.
All you've been waiting for.
The epitome of BioWare
Mhm.
at the time.
The peak.
Star Wars.
The Magnus Opus.
Magnus Opus. Not the Magnum Opus. It's the Magnus Opus.
Magnum Opus.
Star
Excuse me.
Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
which I did start playing last week.
Nice.
I didn't get very far because Days
Terrace
Gone
is a
came
slog.
out, and I was
Okay.
getting super. I didn't think I was gonna play Days Gone as much as I did. I wanted to play more Old Republic, but
Playing
Nice.
through Terrace was it Terrace? Was that the
yeah,
Yeah, playing through Terrace, that was a slog to get through.
Yes, it was.
The first time it was not. But after that, if you go back and play it again, it's a
I remember
slog.
having a lot of trouble with the Rancor back in the day.
Oh God, yeah. Like
that was a pain in the butt.
Just having to use like blasters.
The thing that I have the most trouble with when I go back and playing it is the arena.
That was difficult too.
The last one there, because I don't like to use any. I'm one of those people that I like to do everything before going on to the next place, just like you guys are.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I liked to save all of my level up points, my skill points from leveling up, till after I get the Jedi abilities and can put those points into Jedi feats and Jedi lightsaber stuff. I didn't like to use it on blaster stuff that I wasn't going to use later on in the game anyway, because you can't reset your feat points or your skill points. Mm-hmm. So I waited until I became a Jedi to use all my skill points. Mm-hmm. And trying to beat the last guy in the arena with no skills is really hard. Even if you're just spamming grenades, which I tried that. So anytime I go back and play that game, I end up getting discouraged and stopping. But having a turn-based RPG that I liked is weird. Having it be one of my favorite games of all time says a lot about it. Mm-hmm. Just the story. I can't get my thoughts in my head straight about this game because of how mind-blowing it was at the time. And I played it on the PC, too, so I feel like I had the superior experience.
Yeah, I played it on Xbox.
Which was still good. It still controlled really well with the basic Xbox controller. Mm-hmm. But it felt like they took what they learned from making Neverwinter Nights and so perfectly crafted a Star Wars story that made sense even thousands of years before the movies were set.
Oh my God,
it still made sense within the context of that, but expanded so much on and took creative licenses with being able to make their own atmosphere and their own planets, their own story, their own characters, and
even planets we've seen in the original trilogy.
Yeah,
like they expand the lore on those.
They had Tatooine and even had some old huts.
The Wookiee homeworld.
Oh yeah, the Kashyyyk was in that. Yeah,
that was the first time we really got to go there.
Yeah,
because that was incredible.
That was before Episode 3 came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Manon with the racing that I love so much.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I barely remember any of it because it's probably been
huge
since
game
2003 or whatever when I played it. So
it's the BioWare game I've played the most amount of times all the way through.
I mean, I don't know how I even first heard about it, but I kept reading gaming magazine previews of it. And it just sounded so huge at the time.
This was the game that made me get a console. Wait, no. The second one I played on the console. Never mind. I got my Xbox for Splinter Cell.
That's right.
Chaos Theory.
Yeah, that was a great game too.
And because I was tired of just always playing on my PC. But I can't believe they haven't fully made a sequel that has actually released to the
I mean, I can believe it with the current state of...
It's crazy.
They had so much time between the time that Knights of the Old Republic 2 came out and the time that EA
the Old Republic
everything
came out.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later, but
yeah.
I think what this game doesn't get enough credit for is fully opening the door wide open to how you can play a Jedi or a Sith.
Yeah.
You can choose which side you can be.
Yeah.
Which was incredible because it influenced the dialogue. Like the skill trees.
It was the precursor to
the
games
party members,
like Mass Effect, where the party members were a big part of it. And I know that BioWare was known for that before with Neverwinter Nights and other games before that, but this was the game that actually hit the big mainstream audience more than anything else, that opened up BioWare and their writing abilities at the time.
Because nobody knew who they were before.
Yeah. I mean, they had some big games, but they were very niche.
Yes.
Whereas setting a game in the Star Wars universe was something that other companies had done, but not as critically or playerically acclaimed as this one. It was just the most well-received Star Wars game I think ever.
I mean, even for me, I played JRPGs prior to this, like Final Fantasy X, but this was the first Western RPG that really set the foundation, what to expect from this genre.
Yeah.
And it was a huge influence for future Western RPGs. There's nothing else like it at the time.
Speaking of RPGs, the same year that came out, another one of my favorite top 5 games of all time, Star Wars Galaxies, came out.
That's right.
The only MMO that I've loved. It took years of my life. God,
you've talked about
just like World of Warcraft did for me.
If you want to hear more about I'm going to try to get through the rest of this as quickly as possible. of this game. But if you want to hear more of my thoughts on this, go back to our very first episode. But yeah, it was a very player-driven game. It was all about the player. There was no real story to it. You just live in the Star Wars universe as an adventurer, and
that's very appealing.
It really was, because there were no vendors in the game either. The vendors were all people, and the economy was based on people and setting prices, and it worked really, really well. It encouraged players coming together and building communities within the greater community, and the PvP in that game, it felt even more like it felt even bigger and better because of how wrapped in your own community you were. You wanted to prove that group of people were the best, and it culminated in something beautiful that I don't think I'll ever experience ever again.
Indeed.
The combat system was horseshit, but that doesn't matter because it was all about everything else in that game. That's yeah.
So say we all.
So say we all.
I loved it 3000, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fantastic. Let's move on to Battlefront.
Oh, this was released around the time of Revenge of the Sith. So this was like during this time where we're like in our mid-teens, 15, 16.
This was about 16.
This was during a time for me personally where I was playing a lot of SOCOM on PlayStation 2.
This is our sophomore year?
Yes. This was a pretty big release because it was like, SOCOM, but in Star Wars form, which was like awesome.
Yeah.
And I remember playing the first one. It wasn't as good as the second one.
Right.
But it
opened the door.
It opened the door, basically. Yeah, it was a fun action game.
I'm weird because I never got into the second one as much as the first one.
Really?
The first one I played a ton of and I loved it. And I remember trying the second one and I felt like they changed too much from what I loved of the first one. Now I wouldn't be able to tell you what it was because it's been so long.
Yeah, I hear
But
you.
at the time, I never played 2 that much at all.
I never played them multiplayer. It's weird because they were multiplayer-driven games.
I don't think I did.
Because back then on the first one, you had to do console LAN.
Yeah.
And I think I did that once or twice.
We did that, I think. Yeah. It was after finals our freshman year or sophomore year. Sophomore year, yeah. It was after finals, I remember me, you, and like 3 or 4 other people all went to your house. And
I think it was for my birthday.
Was it?
Yeah, we did Fable and Halo and...
I remember that, but I remember specifically after getting out of a half day because it was finals week.
Yeah.
It was me, you, and like I think Paul and Tim and a few other people went to your house, and we all just passed 2 controllers back and forth and played specifically Battlefront like all afternoon.
That sounds familiar.
I remember that for some reason, and I had a really good time, even though I didn't care for the game as much.
It was a great party game.
It really was, and it set the stage for number 2, which had, I think it expanded on what Battlefront
vehicles, didn't it, to the second one?
Did the first one not have vehicles? I don't remember.
I don't think it did.
The second one did. I remember that much. And the going from the space battles to the land battles it felt really good. The space battles in number 2 were fantastic. It was outside of the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter game. I think Battlefront 2, the first Battlefront 2,
yeah, let's not
had the best.
Yeah,
had the best Star Wars space battles. They were fun. Let's kind of jump through some of this because we're running a little late here.
So just to kind of summarize, this is around the time where the sequel to Knights came out.
KOTOR 2 came out.
KOTOR 2.
I thought you were going to say your age.
We were coming of age.
Well, I mean, you could kind of
say
say that was the case. We came of age in that time.
I will say for sure that it wasn't as good as the first one. The story wasn't there. It was Obsidian that did this one.
I enjoyed the second one a lot.
I enjoyed it, but it was way too easy, and the story was way too convoluted.
The story wasn't as good as 1, that's true, but I felt like the gameplay was a lot more refined.
I thought it was a lot less refined. It felt
really?
It felt a lot easier to cheese. Like I was.
Oh well, I get that.
Like you could just level up Force Lightning all the way.
Yeah,
and
then
you just
Lightning Storm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just do Storm.
That makes sense.
And you make it to where you never ran out of Force energy, and it was just way too easy.
I wish I
get
remembered.
That. Yeah.
Republic Commando was a big one. Republic Commando was fucking fun.
I did play a few hours of this about a month ago.
Nice.
I played it.
It's hard. It's a lot harder than I remember.
It's difficult. Yeah.
I went back. I think I tried to stream it on Twitch
a
couple years back, and I got past the first level and I died a lot.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
I don't
A
remember
lot of
dying
the
that
enemies
much when I
are
was
bullet
younger.
sponges.
I played this game on the Xbox originally, and then I tried going back on the PC and playing it. And I generally can't play first-person shooters with a controller, but I had a lot easier time with it back in the day than I do now.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's so weird.
This is a game I wish could be remastered, and like 4-player co-op would be a thing.
Yeah,
It'd be sick as hell.
that really would be. It'd be a great experience
God, the game
nowadays.
was great. I love the little details in the game. Like they had the various like water effects on the visor, like Metroid Prime.
Yeah,
And the wiper,
yeah, that
Yeah,
was
the
great.
wiper.
It
like
had
the laser wiper.
yeah, the screen,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like this game just had so many little details that made it so much more.
Plus, the story was cool.
It was.
The fact that you were
Yeah.
like this elite commando in the Star Wars universe was
Yes.
like, really cool.
Really good ending too.
And then Karen
set up a good sequel.
Travis, I think, is the name of the author who wrote the books based on the
Which
story
were
of the game.
really good as well.
I own them. I've never read them. I think I started reading the first one.
I was gonna say, granted, I've only read the first one. I own all of them as well, but the first one was really good.
But you're playing as the troops from the 501st.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very different characters. It was the first bit of lore that we had on the clones that differentiated the clones from one another. Because in the movies, other than I think Commander Cody, who was Obi-Wan's favorite, and then was Rex in the movies? I think he was slightly in episode 3. I could be wrong.
Maybe never by name, at least. I
Okay.
don't think.
I think it was supposed to be him, is what it was hinted at. But yeah, other than Commander Cody, I guess in the movies, this was the first thing that showed that the clones can be different from one another, and they all had varying
Oh man,
personalities.
help me out here. I'm trying. I know Fixer and Sev, but I can't remember the other two.
And
The
I
yellow
just played
one.
it
Oh
too.
man,
I think the
don't
yellow one
remember
had a
names.
name.
I don't
That
remember.
was,
I don't remember their names either.
and you were the main character, the captain guy. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. Damn, I wish I could remember their names, but I remember Sev, of course, and Fixer.
But this was also a very dark and atmospheric game, which
Oh,
was
it
something
was.
seen outside, not seen in Star Wars.
It was like survival horror a little bit sometimes.
It felt a little bit
Yeah.
like
Cool.
Doom. A
Yeah.
little bit like Doom
Yeah.
3. It was great, and like they really upped the creepiness factor of the Geonosians when they would come
Oh,
at you
man.
out of
the
like
darkness.
the darkness. It was just
oh yeah.
such
remember-
a great game.
The Kashyyyk levels being particularly difficult too.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
The separatist droids and like the weird little crab
A lot of
ones
bullet
that would come at you
sponge
and you had to
enemies.
shoot the red
Right,
eye.
yeah. Aim for the eye. No, oh, damn it. We'll get to the movies at some point.
Well, at this point, it starts to slow down for me.
The last big one that I want to talk about was the beginning of something I didn't think I'd ever love, and it was the Lego games. Lego Star Wars was the first of the Lego games that, as we know them now, and it was I think Lego Star Wars 2 was my favorite of all of the Lego games. This one particularly, and the second one, they were great because they didn't have any dialogue. They told the story through grunts and groans and sounds, and the character animations, and it was very cutesy. It was very made for kids, but it was as a, let's see, what year was that? How old was I? As someone who was like nearing,
Actually, we were like
junior year of
senior
high school.
year. Yeah.
Okay. Either way.
Well,
Yeah.
senior for you because that was your last year.
Yeah.
You
Either
skipped
way.
senior year because you already had your credits.
Either way, being like 17, 18 years old, it felt like I should have been too old to enjoy that game, but I loved it. It was fantastic. I bought it shortly after it came out, and I was really surprised. And from there, I fell in love with the Lego games until the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. But
I didn't play them until they came in like the full saga thing.
Lego
That's
Star
when I
Wars, the complete
played all
saga,
of them.
yeah.
Yeah, they're compulsively playable.
it was the first game, I think, on the 360, the complete saga, that I tried getting all the achievements. I don't know if I ever did. I don't know. In fact, I know I didn't because I've never gotten everything on a Lego game before because I don't have the time to get all the mini kits and all that stuff. But the amount of collectibles in that game, the level of being able to tell a story without any dialogue, and the fact that it was just a Star Wars game that was really, really fun to play with 2 people.
You tried
incredible.
to get me to play, but I would not play it.
I still hate you for it.
I know. I don't
just
like
kidding.
those games. I hate the Lego games.
Why?
The gameplay is atrocious.
That's a
Yeah.
strong word. That's like Sonic
It's
movie
so
trailer.
shallow and
strong.
repetitive. Like I don't get why the games are fun.
They're just fun collectibles.
I don't get it. I mean, this was around the time Star Wars started to die for me. Because
Okay.
we
I was
saw
still
Revenge
heavily-
of the Sith, and it sucked.
I was still playing Star Wars
And-
Galaxies at this time.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But I just can't get into them. I don't know why. They're just not for me. Not for me.
I get it.
I also did want to mention the adaptation for Revenge of the Sith was actually a decent game.
It was.
I remember having a lot of fun with it. I think it
heard good
was
things about it,
third
yeah.
person action.
Yeah.
I think you can upgrade stuff like your abilities and stuff. It's been so long I don't remember, but I remember it being fun.
I say holy shit. It's already been an hour.
Yeah.
We've been
Hey, let's
talking
keep
about
going.
Star Wars games.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, a lot of expansions for Star Wars Galaxies. That was fun. Lego Star Wars 2, Empire at War came out. And that's when, for me, Lego
Star Wars
Star Wars
started
games started. Yeah.
the downward spiral.
The next one that came out
The dark side.
that I actually enjoyed was The Force Unleashed,
Yeah.
which was kind of what I wanted back in the Jedi Outcast days when I was playing that. I wanted a game where you felt like the Force was this big, powerful, unlimited power thing, and you really feel that playing a Star Killer who's an apprentice for Darth Vader, secret apprentice. And the story of one was much better than the story of 2, but the gameplay, you just feel like an absolute
it was a
badass
yeah.
Force master.
It was cool. You got me to play it.
It
It looked fun.
From the first level, they show you what the game's going to be later on by you playing as Darth Vader killing a shitload
Oh, that
of
was a
Wookiees.
great introduction to the game.
It felt like how God
forgot
of
about
War
that.
always starts
Yeah.
off, where you're like a powerful mega badass.
Oh, that was so cool.
slaughtering everything, and just his slow walk through everything. You're playing as Darth fucking Vader.
And you just do like force waves or force pushes.
Yeah,
and they just fly.
Everything flies.
Everything gets blown
Rocks,
up.
trees.
And,
yeah.
The destructive elements were great in that game.
It was something that I hadn't seen in a movie until Rogue One came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic game. Fantastic.
I've only
It was
played. I think I played through maybe a third of it,
Okay.
and it was years after it came out. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago now,
Okay.
and I've never played the second one. But
Don't.
I haven't played the second one because of you.
Don't.
You told me
Don't.
not to.
Don't. No one needs to play the second one.
I still would.
The first
I would
one.
still try it.
The first one had some frustrating boss fights.
Oh, the enemies. Like, some of the enemies were so annoying.
Yeah, they really got annoying. It wasn't like it was bad because it was difficult. It was bad because it was obnoxious.
Yeah, it reminds me of the pet peeves, like enemies with shields.
Yeah.
This was a big offender of that.
There's a lot
pet
of that
peeve.
where you have to like use lightning or you have to use push and do
Yeah.
certain things to fight certain enemies, which is all well and good, but when it's too much too quickly, it gets to be a bit much. And the Force Unleashed games were pretty big at doing that. But other than that, the atmosphere, the collectibles, the level design, the sounds, the story, the voice acting, everything was so well done in
It
this
was.
first Force Unleashed game. It was fantastic. One of my favorite Star Wars games. The second one, not so much. Yeah.
Was this around the time that Galaxies got shut down?
Galaxies went through some troubles shortly after WoW came out, and
of course, yeah.
they tried to pivot the gameplay and made it worse, and that's when it started dying. And then I think it fully died. Yeah, it was around. It was either 2009 or 2010 is when it shut down for good. Yeah, it was sad. But it was quickly replaced by Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Oh boy!
I got the collector's edition of that. The $120 collector's edition came with a Darth Malgus statuette and a big old box full of shit. It was good
I
for what
bought
it
that
was.
on discount for like $20 at Best Buy.
Yeah.
Like 6 months after it came out.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, the game was not free to play at the time, and
No.
it became free to play
And that's when I played
rather
it.
quickly.
Yes.
It was a good game for the stories that it told for each individual class, because each individual class had their own separate story,
Which was cool.
that was playable solo. Then the game really wanted you to group up with other players to play the rest of the world content. If you're ever going to play the Old Republic, I highly recommend playing as an Imperial agent. The story is like a spy thriller, and it's really good. Other than that, don't worry with the game, because it's not dead. It's still actually kind of
it's actually
thriving.
getting an expansion in September.
It's already gotten 3 expansions, I think, or this will be the third. Either way, It's an okay game. If you're not into MMOs, I don't think there's anything you'll find enjoyable in this game outside of the Imperial Agent storyline.
So this is when Star Wars died. I'm going to read you a list.
Yeah, go through the list of games that came out.
All right, you guys ready?
Let's do it.
After Old Republic bombed.
Oh God, this next one.
Tortanic bombed.
Tortanic.
Yes, that's the nickname
for
the experiment failure. So in 2012, we get, this is like the grand resurgence of Star Wars.
Modern day Star Wars games. Yeah.
Entry number 1, Star Wars Connect. This is when the dark times, like this is not even light or dark. It's just pitch black.
All I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to go into any details about this game. We are not. Look up videos of this game because they're fucking atrocious and hilarious, and don't play it, but watch it.
Don't, no.
Yeah. Okay, rapid fire.
Angry Birds Star Wars.
Yep.
I played that.
I don't know what Battle Orders is.
I don't either.
Star Wars Pinball.
A lot of people like that.
I guess. Club Penguin Star Wars Takeover.
Club Penguin is kids kind of almost MMO money sink thing.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, great direction. Angry Birds Star Wars 2.
Yeah. I didn't know this next Lego game was even a thing.
Lego Star Wars The Yoda Chronicles.
The movie is fantastic, but I'd never played the game. The Lego Star Wars movies are great. They're they're like a half hour long, but they're fantastic.
I'm not making this up. Star Wars Tiny Death Star. I don't know what the fuck that is. Lego Star Wars Micro Fighters.
I didn't. Maybe these are the movies.
And
those two Lego Star Wars. I don't know.
They sound like mobile games.
Oh,
still
okay.
Going.
Yeah, that's right.
Star Wars Assault Team.
Probably another mobile game.
Star Wars Journeys: The Phantom Menace. No idea. Star Wars Scene Maker. Star Wars Rebels Ghost Raid.
That's got to be a mobile game. Tie into the Star Wars Rebels TV
Star
show.
Wars Commander.
I don't know what that. Oh, that's a mobile game. I know Commander's a mobile game.
Lego Star Wars The New Yoda Chronicles. The new ones.
Oh, that's great.
And then we got here Star Wars Rebels Rebel Strike.
No idea.
Great title. And another Old Republic expansion, Star Wars Galactic Defense.
No idea.
Another Old Republic expansion, Star Wars Journeys Beginnings, Star Wars Rebels Takeover Club Penguin Edition, Star Wars Rebels Recon Missions.
Oh my god.
Star Wars Uprising, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And then we get to 2015 Star Wars Battlefront.
Let's talk about Galaxy of Heroes though for a minute because it's the only mobile game that I've ever really gotten into besides Picture Cross. Okay, we talked about it. It's a good mobile game.
Star Wars Battlefront. You were really excited for that. I remember.
I and almost everybody else on the planet was excited for a new Star Wars game. When, especially if they're calling it Battlefront and it's made by the people that make Battlefield. It's like, okay,
it got everyone's attention.
Be a good game.
Oh yeah.
They fucked it 17,000 ways from Thursday, which I know is not the phrase, but I'm going with it. I keep saying atrocious, but it's a good word. There aren't any other words to describe this. It is such a bad game. There are no redeeming qualities. It was horrid, and they made a sequel that was worse.
Yep, and even more shitty Star Wars games before and after that.
Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens was the first Star Wars Lego game that I didn't like.
I thought I remember you saying you liked it.
I played through it and I was hooked on it until after I beat it, and you start going through and trying to do the collectibles and there's the DLC for it. That was when Lego games, this era of Lego games is they lost that wonder, that almost childlike wonder.
Well, they used actually sound clips from the movies, right?
Dialogue, sound clips, everything straight from the movies, and it was. They've been doing it for Lego games for a while. I think Lego Star Wars: The Clone Wars might have done that. If not, it was either the last one without dialogue or the first one with dialogue. But that was when the Star Wars game started taking huge nosedive.
It was after, for me personally, the pivotal moment.
Indiana Jones?
No, I was going to say when Star Wars 1313 was canceled. That was a sad day for me.
Yeah.
That was like a huge gut punch.
So there are a list of canceled.
I can't believe. Yeah, we got to go through these.
Okay.
Republic Commando 2 is a canceled game.
Yeah, Republic Commando 2.
Imperial Commando. Yeah.
That would have been sick.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 3.
Why haven't they made that? What is wrong
Because
with
the Old
them?
Republic came out and they thought they were going to make enough money from that to not have to worry about making a third.
Terrible decision.
Star Wars Smuggler. That sounds like what 1313 was going to be, but 10 years before. 1313.
This is the worst.
Looked like it
timeline.
was going to be fantastic. It was.
I know.
It was going to be the
LucasArts.
redemption of Star Wars games.
Yeah.
I hate ending this on.
This was like the
such a
sequel to
sad
Bounty
note.
Hunter for me. It looked so awesome.
Man, we should have gone through the canceled ones earlier because now I'm depressed.
You've done that yourself.
Yeah, I know.
And then, of course, the canceled Visceral Games that got them shuttered by EA. Fuck you, EA. Assholes.
Yeah.
Dickheads.
Star Wars games are some of the best and some of the worst examples of what video games can be.
Mm-hmm.
In the hands of EA, I don't see this ever turning around. The new Star Wars game, Jedi Fallen Order, I want to have hope for. I think it can potentially be the resurgence of Star Wars games.
I gotta see gameplay for me.
I just hope that EA stays as hands off with this game as they did with Apex Legends, because if they get their fucking grubby fingers on this game, it will die, and it will die quickly. I wish Visceral would have been able to make what they were making before they were closed.
Yeah.
This is going to be the next best thing. Let's wait and see.
Fingers crossed.
That's all I got to say. Is
Time will tell.
Let's wait and see.
I really hope EA loses the license and someone else
Disney's
gets it.
apparently okay with them having it. Like they like them.
Yeah, because they're making money.
Disney's fucking up Star Wars, in my opinion.
Well, they're making
One,
so much money from everything that they don't really care about Star Wars video games when they've got, 3 of the top 5 highest grossing movies of all time. They've got the Marvel license, which is something that if they give that to EA, then it will die.
There's no more soul to Star Wars.
There
it just
hasn't
doesn't
been.
feel like
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Makes me sad.
I am very sad
because I used to be a
now.
big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And now I just don't care about it anymore.
Disney, we talk about Marvel a lot. We talk
do.
about Star Wars a lot.
We love Marvel a lot.
Please, please, please do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
We're appealing to the side of you that still wants to have fans and not just money. Just please get Star Wars away from EA.
Please, God.
If EA is still going to publish Star Wars games, don't make it exclusive to them. Let other people share the magic that is the Star Wars universe.
It deserves a lot better treatment.
Yeah. There have been some great games. I will still always say, probably for the rest of my life, that KOTOR and Galaxies were 2 of my favorite games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to be, for me, the pinnacle of Star Wars games. Great, great, great stuff back then in that decade.
I mean,
Agreed.
Some truly standout gems.
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Really good.
If you stuck with us for this whole time, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for listening very much. Yeah, hit us up on Twitter if you have any comments or want anything to add about any of the games that we're talking about or any of them that we glossed over.
What's your favorite Star Wars game?
Let us know. Hit us up on Twitter. I'm at ImpulseG66.
I'm at Too Spooky for Robert.
Monumentus Kyle.
And we're at Pushing Buttons P. You can follow us on Instagram at Pushing Buttons Podcast. Follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/pushingbuttons, which we may or may not start that up sometime soon. I'm not sure how that's going to go. So
we'll see.
Yeah, don't need to worry about that. But if you like what you see here, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Anyway, thank you for listening to this, watching us, however you're listening or watching to us. I can't even talk anymore. I'm so disillusioned by the lack of good Star Wars games. I can't even get a thought out of my head correctly. Anyway, thank you for sticking around.
We should have moved backwards in time.
I think so too.
Yep.
Anyway,
we just need to.
We need the time
solve
stone.
time travel and get some quantum suits,
and
then we'll go back and we'll prevent LucasArts from getting shut down.
We've got the power. You've got the power to let us know how to do that. Anyway, thank you. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Love you.